It's Friday, and that means One Piece. So, yeah, today we'll be talking about One Piece, chapter 1073. And let me preface this by saying that next week we'll be having a break. So, no One Piece, but I'll try to, not that I'll try, but I will do some other content. I don't know what that is, but yeah, let's just get into it. So, chapter 1073. Um, the title of the chapter is Miss Buckingham Stussy, and we'll get to see why later. So, starting off with the cover story, basically says awarded the Ibel Peace Prize for developing the GP flower, a flower that blooms in gunpowder, and it basically shows like, uh, you know, Vegapunk talking to what I assume is a crowd, right? Because he has to receive the prize. Excuse me. So he's talking about the reward, on a mic. And then we see the trio of Queen, Judge, and Caesar looking sort of like, how would I say, like, in distraught, but not that extreme. Like, just like, dang, we've been creating sort of weapons of mass destruction, and Vegapunk's over here like trying to bring peace to the world, right? And we get to see a sort of illustration of what it does, and we see two tanks firing at each other, but what comes out are like flowers basically, and yeah, that's the cover story. I don't know. Well, I don't think there's any like significance really in that cover story, but besides maybe the the GP flower might, you know, come into play later on with Vegapunk trying to uh you know provide peace to everyone, maybe. But besides that, maybe they'll talk about the Peace Prize as well. Funny play on the actual Nobel Peace Prize. So yeah, um, let's just get started with the main story. So yeah, we get right back into the whole betrayal of Stussy, with CP0. And Lucci immediately tries to, kill her, rightfully so, right? Because she's betrayed them. But to no avail, as Stussy uses a sort of after image skill, and it's called like paper arts. So that's interesting to see, because with that paper arts thing, it's since she's a clone, it's either a devil fruit, a sort of devil fruit power that she's gotten, as well as that vampire fruit, or what I believe personally would be to actually be a sort of skill martial art or something, because they have the CP0 have to learn that sort of martial art thing, right? So I think that the paper arts are something that can be learned, and who knows, maybe she might, like, maybe some of the crewmates might learn that, right? So anyway, we see some paper arts thing, and she basically created an after image to which Lucci tried to kill, but she evaded him. And then she also questions why Lucci's first instinct was to go for the kill, right? When he doesn't understand what's happening. But I mean, fair enough, right? It's a crazy betrayal, especially when they were this close. Well, technically, they would have still lost if Stussy hadn't betrayed them. But in his mind, they were this close to capturing the Straw Hats, right? And obviously he'd get pissed if, like, that they're so close, and then Stussy decides to, like, destroy the whole plan. So then Stussy pulls out a lipstick of hers, and apparently it has sea stone, so it cancels Lucci's devil fruit out, right? So he turns back into a human, and she takes a bite, which that basically knocks him out. So now Kaku and uh, Lucci are knocked out, and we get to see Brook on the ship, and he's confused as to why CP0, they're like, why they're fighting each other, right? And then Zoro doesn't really bat an eye. He just mentions, like, oh, friendly fire, huh? Or, like, in his voice, like, friendly fire, huh? Yeah, I can't do that, but that's what he said. Then Stussy uses a small Denden Mushi to communicate with the Vegapunks, right? So she talks to Pythagoras first, which confirms that she's indeed the other ally that they were referring to on like a few chapters ago, right? Because frick, what was his name again? The big fat guy. It's on the tip of my tongue, but you know who I'm talking about, the one with the big axe. So something Maru. Yeah, the guy with the big axe, and yeah, so she's the other ally on the island, and the rest of the crew in the rubble are, obviously confused as to what the heck happened, right? And especially Robin, because because she mentions that, like, she says why, like, she can't believe that there's a mole in the government's intelligence, right? Cypher Pole. And Shaka says that, like, you know, uh, it it wasn't the intention, but it worked out that way. So they're lucky, I guess. And yeah, going back to Stussy, she relays back to the Vegapunks that her authority level is the same as Lucci's, so she can't really override his orders to stop the Seraphim, right? Then Edison replies to her saying that she's done enough and that he's on his way along with Lilith, right? Because she's following him. Then Zoro and Brook also begin to run towards the Seraphim, in an attempt to stop them or at least defend, right? Then Brook also mentions how the Seraphim look familiar, and Zoro as well. And Lilith finally reaches the area only for S-Hawk to spot her, and uh, seeing them as the sort of enemy, S-Hawk, like, is about to slash when Zoro, like, comes in and, like, clashes with him to basically prevent that, right? Then we can see S-Hawk visibly, sweating a few beads, and he seems visibly stunned, also a bit worried. Like, it seemed like, because usually he doesn't have to, S-Hawk doesn't really have to worry, right? He can just slash anything and it'll damage them. So to see someone clashing with him, and also Zoro looks very calm while clashing with him. So that's probably what S-Hawk's feeling, like, damn, who the frick is this guy? Yeah, right? So then Zoro also mentions that S-Hawk isn't the same as Mihawk, although he has a spark of humanity, right? And then we get to see Edison reaching the area and orders the Seraphim to stop. And they do stop. So once they stopped, Stussy says that she's bound, Lucci and Kaku with sea stone, so I'm pretty sure they can't move, yeah. And one of the Vegapunks thanked her, I guess. Excuse me. I don't know if it was the main one, but one of the Vegapunks like thanked her. They 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 thanked her, and they mentioned to like come along with the crew, which she agrees. And Usopp replies with like, "Can you stop adding people to the crew?" That's it's a very funny thing. Like I don't know if it's related, but it's very funny to me because first of all, like that's a ton of people on the crew, like 8 or 9 people already, like added just like that. With Bonnie as well, it's it's funny and interesting because previously in Wano we were all expecting like the last member to come along, right? One person. Even if they're not permanent, the fact that 9 people, 8 people are suddenly like coming along, and I'm all for it. I like I I'm sure Oda will do a good job in handling like that amount of people, interacting with one another. But I can see how why some people might be like a bit worried. But I'm I believe in Oda, and if it's done well, I'm really a fan of it actually because you know not that the whole the original crew are like boring, they're not, but it's just cool to see like not one, not two, but friggin' 8 people, 9 new people just there interacting with the whole crew. So cool to me. So I can't wait for that to happen, but for now we go back to it. Let's see. Yeah, the Vegapunks thank her and blah blah blah. Then we see Luffy running around, trying to find the original Vegapunk, and also Bonnie, right? So, but then we get to see like it pans out to the island as a whole, and there are 2 boxes which are very ominous, and it just mentions that like an unexpected development. Dr. Vegapunk's main body, the Stella body, has vanished, nowhere to be found. So I don't know what happened with him and Bonnie and that Kuma paw, but that's pretty alarming, very alarming actually. And I don't know, I have a bad feeling that he actually vanished for real and isn't coming back. Not trying to jinx it, but I'm just saying it feels very ominous. And what happened to Bonnie, right? So, you know, anyway, meanwhile, we go back to Sphinx Island, in the New World, Whitebeard's hometown. Get to see Marco talking to some children who are basically saying that, you know, there were many Marines on the island when he was gone out fighting in Wano, right? And the Marines were basically like pirates, right? Just terrorizing them, acting like pirates. And they were asking for Whitebeard's fortune because it's obviously in Sphinx Island, right? And then out of nowhere, or rather, they were threatening like the citizens and they were gonna kill an old woman when out of nowhere, Edward Weevil pops up and like basically attacks them and scares them off, rightfully so, right? Because he's still crazy strong. And then Marco continuing to talk to the children, like while talking to the children, behind in the shadows comes out Edward Weevil's mother, the tiny old woman, the wrinkly old woman, right? And then she comes out of nowhere, and then she basically mentions that, uh, while running away from the island because the Marines were, scared of Weevil, right? They called for backup, and one of the admirals came over as backup, and that admiral was Rokugyu. Okay, I pronounced it properly. So Ryokugyu came in for backup and basically took Weevil away. And she's crying. She mentions how she wants Whitebeard's inheritance. Then we see like another freaking reveal, right? A few boxes talking like a description boxes, and this is why the chapter is named Miss Buckingham Stacy, because we get to see that she goes by Miss Buckin, and it turns out that wrinkly old lady is freaking Miss Buckingham Stacy, and she was a former Rocks member. Of course, we knew that already. And she's a self-proclaimed scientist, so maybe that's why she's cloned, right? And also friends with Vegapunk, I assume. So, Marco still doesn't believe that Weevil is Whitebeard's son, so she mentions that she knows who can prove it, and that would be Vegapunk. And that's where chapter 1073 ends. Crazy already, I know, but stay with me, because there are still a few panels which is also crazy, but I don't know. It isn't clear whether it's together with the whole 1073 or it's like a separate, like it's in a separate book or something like that, but it came with the scans, and clearly when I mentioned the Marco and Stasi ordeal, that was the end. It clearly mentions 1073 and no chapter next week, break next week. So crazy. Let me start off by saying crazy first. First off, with Stasi mentioning that Dr. Vegapunk could prove it, already leads me to believe they're at least acquaintances or something. But how, right? Because, I mean, the other Vegapunks can, but the main one, apparently he's gone. So crazy. Then after the end, the extra panels we get to see, I already mentioned I don't know where you could find it. Like, I don't know, but the extra few panels are basically Kizaru having a chat with one of the freaking 5 Elder Stars. Oh my goodness. Okay, finally, right? Finally, we get to see some movement. So, one of the 5 Elder Stars, and it turns out to be the one with that sort of black hat and some dreads and a pointy nose with a beard and like a diagonal scar like going down like this way. Yeah, on the left eye. So that's the one that we're seeing right now, and it turns out to be his name's Saint J. Garcia Saturn, or if you want to get a little fancy with it, you can be like, his name's Saint J. Garcia Saturn. And okay, I don't know what I wanted to do with that, but yeah, we see Saint J, and Kizaru asks if Saint J has met Vegapunk before, to which he replied saying that he did once, like a long time ago, and it's truly a shame with what's happening right now. And that's the true end, and oh my goodness. As crazy as the last chapter, let me be honest. I mean, where do I start? Crazy, crazy, crazy. There are two Stussies roaming the freaking world. Now she's wrinkly. There's one pretty one and there's a wrinkly one. Vegapunk, the main body's missing. We don't know what happened to Bonnie as well. There's also gonna be 8 people traveling with the whole crew. It's like doubled instantly. Not to mention what happened in Spinks. Weevil's caught. So I guess even he couldn't overpower an admiral. What else? The 5 Elder Stars. We see Saint J already. Like we finally see him doing something besides freaking like sitting down with the rest of the 4. Talking to Kizaru as well. Crazy chapter. I mean, I don't know what to say. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Crazy. I'd rate it an 8.5. Or whatever score I gave last week's chapter, because it's roughly the same in craziness. It didn't need much fighting, although we got to see what Stussie's capable of. Although she did mention that the boys were strong, Kaku and Lucci were strong, so of course she had to like do some sort of deception tactics, right, in order to beat them. So, and she successfully beat both of them. We also get to see a bit of action from Zoro and S-Hawk, and I mean Zoro, he's already beaten freaking King. I still don't think he could challenge Mihawk, although it's definitely gonna be hard for current Mihawk and now anyway, because Zoro is crazy now. I mean, he looked way too calm, right? Way too calm for S-Hawk to truly be a problem. But yeah, besides that, not much action. It's just lore after. And it's not crazy lore too. It's not like crazy lore, it's just introducing people. We finally get to see some characters that we haven't seen before. Or rather, that we haven't seen like doing anything else, which is Saint J. Garcia Saturn. And I don't know if there's an ancient weapon called Saturn or what. Maybe, but I kind of feel like one of the Elder Stars have, or maybe all of them have like a sort of weapon or ancient weapon thing, you know? Because his name has Saturn. I mean, I don't know if it's relevant or not, but I mean that kind of suspect, don't you think? Might just be me, but yeah, I'm rating this whatever I rated last chapter. Crazy chapter. Can't wait for Oda to bring in more bangers. But you know, next week's a break, so I'll be doing some other manga, I think, and yeah, that's all for me. That's all from me for today. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below what you'd like to see. Anything at all, comment down anything at all, and thanks for watching. If you've really watched all the way, then I salute you guys. Seriously, because these videos have, I'm gonna be real here, no production quality whatsoever. They're just ramblings of mine. And yeah, if firstly, I'd like to salute those who've watched the whole thing, even with skipping, but without skipping, crazy salute. Then a double salute to those who've watched this and actually enjoyed it. Salute. But yeah, you know, gotta end this. So thanks again. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Till next week. Bye.